I'll write this. You see this? Here's the trophy. This, you see that? It says, oh, it's dusty. You can't really see, but it says Top Quizzer. Can you see that? Can you? I don't know if you can see. it. But what I learned at my second year in internationals is that first place means nothing. So if you haven't seen the first part of this little mini series that will be right there, you can see what I learned in my very first year of internationals in that video. But for today, we're going to be talking about my second year at internationals. Now, so after my first year, it was sort of like oh my goodness, I love quizzing, it's so great, I want to do the best that I can. My goal was to be the best quizzer in the room. At least I think. I honestly, looking back, I don't really know what my goal was. I was just so pumped up for quizzing. I loved the competition. I just loved every aspect of quizzing, so I just poured all of myself into quizzing. Quizzing became my life. I guess it's understandable looking at that you would see that I got first place in the district that year. Actually, I remember sitting in the audience and looking up onto that really big stage and hearing Jordan read out my name as first place, and I was like, you're kidding me, right? The entire time I walked down the aisle, I'm looking at him and I'm like, is this a joke? Is this a joke? And he's just staring at me. And I'm like, is this a joke? And everyone's cheering and I'm like, gosh, I got first place. I got better than lots of people. I had no idea what was coming up for me at that year at internationals. I guess, first of all, I should say that I was a multiple answer quizzer. There are several categories in quizzing. There are straightforward questions, there are finish the verse questions, there are quote questions, there are reference questions, and there are multiple answer questions. And every other year there are situation questions, but those are only in the Gospels when there's actual dialogue. So what happens with multiple answers is that the year before, in 2014, we were doing Romans and James. So that was the epistles, there's no dialogue, so there were no situation questions. The next year, we were doing Acts. Now, Acts, it was a great year. It had one of the best MAs ever, except it was invalid. Who hear them telling in their own tongues the mighty works of God? Parthians, Medes, and Elamites, and residents of Mesopotamia, Judea, and Cappadocia, Pontus, and Asia, Phrygia, and Pamphylia, Egypt, and parts of Libya belong to Cyrene, visitors from Rome, both Jews and proselytes, Cretans, and Arabians. We hear them telling in our own tongues the mighty works of God. Gosh, that was like 6 years ago. Was it? I have no idea how long ago that was, but I still remember it. So that year was a gospel. Now I know Acts is not a gospel, but just work with us here. We put Acts in the gospel sort of area because we don't do Mark in quizzing. Because Mark is, it has a lot of similar passages to Matthew and John and Luke. So they just decided not to do Mark. So instead we do Acts. So don't come at me like, Acts is not a gospel, it's the Acts of the epistles. I don't run quizzing, I didn't choose the books we do. Anyway, so that year we had dialogue in the material, therefore we had situations. Now, what happens when situations come into play is there is a certain amount of questions per quiz, and there has to be a certain amount of each type in each quiz. And so the years where there are no situations, there are usually more multiple answers. Back when I was in quizzing, things have changed up a little bit, but there were more multiple answers. So the next year, when you added situations into the mix, they actually took up several of the multiple answer spots in the quiz. So instead of having 4 to 5 multiple answers per quiz, there was like 1 to 2, which sucked if you were a multiple answer quizzer. And unfortunately, I hadn't caught on to the idea of doing more than just multiple answers. So while I made top quizzer at the districts, I was in for a huge downfall come internationals. And you see, I did study situations, but because situations are only every other year, everybody does situations, and if you're not dedicated at internationals, you're not going to get a situation. If you didn't put in the work, yeah, you're not going to get a situation. I don't think I ever got a situation question at internationals. I mean, it was rough. Like, that year we had a really great group. They were awesome. A couple of my best friends went that year. They became my best friends after that year, actually, because we met each other and we got to know each other on that trip. Yeah, we had such a great group of kids and a great group of coaches, but I didn't do good, like, at all in the competition. And it was hard because my coaches were very competitive. And so the fact that me, as the top quizzer from the district, wasn't doing good, it was... Yeah, there was a lot of pressure that I didn't expect to feel, and I do believe that because I just wasn't ready for that and I just wasn't as prepared as I should have been, I hit my downfall. They had me in for the first half of the quiz. Hopefully there was some multiple answers. I get my 1 question, my 2 questions. Maybe I don't get the questions, but if 1 or 2 multiple answers are gone, they pull me out. I did not do good at all in the competition side of things at internationals that year. I know that taught me a lot. Just because I got top quizzer doesn't mean anything, honestly, because you take your trophy home and, I mean, it looks nice, it looks really big, it looks pretty cool, but at the end of the day, it doesn't mean anything. Not if you don't come prepared. I was prepared for districts. I crushed districts. But internationals, it was a good teaching year, actually. And it was a really great year for friends and for community, and just like the group I went with, they were amazing. They were great. Like, I have so many awesome memories from that year at internationals. Like, look at that tree! Yeah, inside jokes. That one thing has always just been sort of ironic to me about how I got first place, and then I just bombed. It's sort of like that thing of where you're first after prelims, and then bang, bang, you're out in eliminations. Sort of like you always have that bad quiz. And I guess at districts, I didn't really ever have that bad quiz because I did pretty darn good. And then internationals was my bad meat. But no, I have lots of great memories, and it was such a great time. I think if I were to give any sort of advice for quizzers going to internationals, it would be prepared. I mean, after that year, I still did multiple answers, but I picked up, finished the verses, and between those 2 categories, I mean, I was pretty good to go. I was never really a straightforward quizzer, and I was never a reference quizzer until actually my last year. But even then, I didn't do it at internationals, no. Just at districts. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, when I'm talking about reference questions and quote questions and finish it, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, ask me in the comments. I'll maybe make a video about it and tell you all about that side of cuisine and what cuisine is actually about if you are here at my channel and you have no idea what I'm talking about. Even though I bombed at internationals that year, it was still a great year for character building and for making friends and for just getting better at cuisine in general and getting to know myself a lot more. I know that I was a lot more confident that year than I was the year before, and I think my confidence just grew with each year. That I guess that's just the way it goes, honestly. But yeah, it was still such a great experience. So if you're thinking of going to internationals, do it. Look, this, at the end of the day, doesn't really matter. It's so freaking tall. Like, I can barely fit it up on my shelf. There's like this much room left between it and the roof. Like, why does it need to be so ridiculously big? Why? Kombucha.